If she is. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday or pre-Friday. Can you believe we are already midway through January of 2025? Isn't this speed fast? Could you slow the calendar down just a little bit? So we're ready to get started as soon as people take their seats. All right, well, good morning, everyone. I see a lot of new faces in the room. And so for those who don't know me, I'm Rachel Burgess Burnett. I'm the Deputy Commissioner, Department of Family and Support Services, Children's Services Division, and the Troublemaker. The Fixer? What's it? I didn't know if I want to call myself that today. You gonna call me the Fixer? All right, all right. I'll take it today. I'll take it. How are we today? It's a little warmer today than it's been. Yeah, it's like a heat wave, right? And we'll take it here in Chicago. And so I've got quite a few things on my agenda, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in. So number one, for those of you who are and are not funded by federal dollars, Office of Head Start has decided to change what has always been known as eClick to headstart.gov, which makes sense because it is all about Head Start. And so if you're looking and you go into eClick, it's not going to root you in a little bit. It's going to say page not available. So we want to make sure that everybody understands it's headstart.gov. Same information can be found. The site didn't go away. What they decided to do was rename it. But make sure you take note of it because pretty soon you won't be that redirect is going to go away. CSD cares. I know you guys knew I was going to talk about that, right? So we are at a point now where we are in our critical phase, and that is utilization. Whether or not the system is perfect or not, it is our data system, and we have to have all of the information in the data system. So I am working with both my vendor and staff in my division and also our IT department to do an assessment. What I've asked them to do is to tell me what you're doing or not doing in CARES. I applaud those of you who are. For those of you who are not, I will be meeting with you individually because at the end of the day, this is our system of record. We are going to have to move away from the lovely spreadsheets at some point. We're going to have to rely on a data system to do our reporting and our analytics. And if your information is not in there, then you won't be counted. And let me explain. The state of Illinois, through our CSID system, wants to get stuff directly from the system and not given to them through spreadsheets. Right now, what we're having to do is take what you're giving us on spreadsheets, thank you, Craig and others, take all of that information and put it into a large document and then submit it through to them. And then the state is asking for information from CSIS. Office of to see what it is on a given moment. I should be able to sit down right now and see who's enrolled in your classrooms. And I can't because we're still in spreadsheets. So my team, after everything you give them, they then have to take the task of taking all of that and pulling it into a report for Office of Head Start. Thirdly, We also have to report to CPS on a monthly basis. So on the 1st is CPS, on the 7th is Office of Head Start, by the 10th, it is CSID. So who are you killing out here? My data team. I thank them every day they come to work because it's a lot. But we want to help you. We understand that there's a need for assistance, but I really don't know what people need because I'm not getting the information at a level that's really going to help me. And so we are doing an assessment. They're going to be pulling information directly from the system, module by module, and telling me what you are doing and or not. We will then be working with you to determine what are our next steps. I will tell you, Brandy Kanaze, who was our commissioner, who did leave the department at the end of December, her last statement was to me, you know you're at a point where you're going to have to start restricting contracts. So I want to say that out loud. I've held off. I've constantly said, we're not doing that because we're not ready. And I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. But we're at a point now where the city, CPS, and the state want direct feed from our data system. But I said to our IT team yesterday, or day before, whichever day it was this week, if we did a direct feed right now, they get 0. Because if everything is not complete, it will not point out a record. So every I has to be dotted, every T has to be crossed. In other words, every data set has to be complete in the system. And when it's not, it gives you a record of 0. So how many of you think you'd get full enrollment reports if we did it today, if I pulled it out today? Raise your hands. Full enrollment reports. Full enrollment reports. Look around the room. How many hands went up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of how many people? We have a problem, right? So we got to get there. Zuli, I see your hand up. Why does who want it? CPS, they fund me, they fund you. CPS has to report to ISB on a monthly basis. So let me explain. So ISB is not straight to me. So ISB is not straight to me. We are funded through CPS, the local education authority. Right now, that's how ISB dollar goes out. It goes out to the school district. It goes to CPS. CPS and DFSS, we have an intergovernmental agreement where they fund us to fund you. Okay? So yes, they want a direct feed. They want to not get it through a report. They want to be able to do an overnight feed where each night my system would generate a report saying what new children were enrolled, which it should be able to do, but we're not. And it's 2025, and it is the middle of January, and we only have till February. Write it down. Tell everybody you know, everybody you work with, I have till February. So I'm doing an assessment now. We're going to be figuring out what we need to do to help, but we got to get there, people. Okay? Yes, ma'am. I am aware of CPS IDs. Yes, yes. I'm a, no, and within all of this assessment, they're giving me all of that. So I know what all the issues are. We're not getting everything we need coming over from Schoolment. So I can't completely fill out an ISB report. So it's not you, there are other systems. And so my assessment is including every gap, every issue, so I know who I need to be meeting with. And you see me in uniform today? Because I'm going to a site when I leave here. So I'm keeping my car gassed up. It wouldn't charge last night for some reason. I wasn't happy about that, but that's okay. It's full. I know where y'all were. So I'll be visiting. I'm not telling. I ain't telling. I've decided that unannounced, it's time. And I know y'all ready every day, so I ain't worried about it. But anyway, I am going to a site when I leave here today. Yes, who else's hand is up back there? Am I missing anyone? So we are at a critical juncture, and I just wanted to be really upfront with you and tell you where we are. If a new person walks in the door tomorrow and they're a new commissioner or Department of Family and Support Service, and they have their meeting with the mayor's office and they start talking about CSD Cares, Then they're going to come to me, and all I can tell them is we're still working on it. We're still trying to get you in. We're at a point now where we're calling it user adoption. Are you adopting the system and putting everything in there? I've been real clear that that's where we are. But at the end of the day, people need their reports. They need to be able to access them directly from a data system and not through Excel spreadsheets. We will still be in Excel spreadsheets because I've got to still report until I know that we're able to get what we need through this API or this automatic system. But at the end of the day, if you, your staff, or anyone has not been doing it, not been using it, not been updating it, not been keeping it updated, we've got to start doing that. And we will be visiting and we will be working with you. The team will be triaged to do it. And I'm trying to figure out what other supports I need to make this happen. Any other questions? As it says, announced and unannounced. My team makes announced and unannounced visits. Why do you think we make unannounced visits? Anybody? I'm sorry? Make sure everything is where it needs to be. I know if you call me today, I got closets I can put stuff in. You on your way? Really? What time you gonna get here, girl? Hey. Oh no, come on in. It look like this every day. No, it don't. I don't get home till 10 o'clock at night. I don't put everything away every night. But if you came and I knew you were coming, it would be. And if you come unannounced, I go, hey, I work every night till 10 o'clock, and this is what it look like. But I know there's great work going on out there, but I also know we need to see it. I need to see it. My staff needs to see it. The other thing I have on there is site access. I did have staff who went out and they weren't able to go in the door. That is not okay. Everybody, please understand. We fund you through the funding that we have. We have a requirement to fund you, yes, but to see what's going on inside your house. They have every right, Department of Family and Support Services, Children's Services Division teams, to come in, walk through, talk to you, review files, sit with you, let you know what we've seen, work with you to fix whatever it is that we need to, and commend you for great work you're doing. But we can't do that if people don't open up the door. We are not in COVID. Yes, COVID is still here. But we cannot have agencies that will not let us in. That's a non-negotiable for me. If my staff can't get in, and if I can't get in, I can't fund you. Okay? Because if I can't determine what's going on and I can't sit in a meeting with mayor's office and others and talk about what's going on and children are safe and everything is being done the way that it needs to be done, I can't put the funding out there. Any questions about that? Yes. Is that a hand up or are you waving at somebody? All right, all right. Any questions about announced, unannounced, and site access? Okay. For those of you who have EHSCCP, first, I'm sorry. We've given you a couple of things. We are doing what's called a change in scope, where we are reducing the number of slots on the grant, which means that we will be allowed then to offer a higher rate for those individuals who are actually operating those programs. We made a mistake with the first one, and I call it a mistake. And I always take onus of responsibility, where we did not look at the last enrollment in December. What we know, and I know about Office of Head Start, is if I turn in a change of scope and it looks like I'm impacting children, it's going to be an issue. So I thank everyone for their enrollment, but we did have to go back and make some adjustments because, again, we can't impact children. What it says also is don't make changes to your program until this is approved. Office of Head Start will either approve what we're asking for, or they may say, not that number, and I'll have to go back and make another adjustment. So don't make programmatic shifts. This is a proposal, an application that's going to the Office of Head Start. Once it's approved, we will say, okay, we're ready to move. Let's talk about how we make these numbers work. Anyone who has EHSCCP who has any questions about that? 2024 invoices, when are they due? Okay, let me say this. So there's two emails out there. That's why I asked the question, being facetious. There was an email that went out that said January 15th. I know you've also seen the date of January what? Right. So I need everybody to understand this about our system and our invoicing system. Are you the only ones invoicing the city of Chicago? But everybody's invoices for 2024 are all hitting that queue at the same time. If yours goes in on the 31st, it's at the bottom of the queue. If there's a correction or an error, it's too late. So work with your teams, get your invoices in, make sure yours is in the queue so that if something needs to be corrected, you can get it back in time to still get it back in. You are not the only ones. Just DFSS alone, we have over 350 agencies that we fund that all have that same date that they got to get theirs in. So it's not just yours, it's everybody's going into the same queue. Have you heard that there's been some staff shifts in the city of Chicago? So there's some departments who have fewer people, but it doesn't change the workload. So get them in. I recognize some of you, based on your payroll, some people paid at the end of December. You might not have your payroll registered today, but talk to your folks so you get your stuff in as quickly as possible. The 31st is the date. Yes, it's out there. It could be the end date. Don't let that be the date that you put yours in. Get it in and tell everybody, we need them as soon as possible. Be closer to the top of the queue and not the bottom of the queue. How many of you want to get paid sometime in February? I know you like to, right? Those invoices, if they're at the bottom of the queue, can't tell you how long it's going to take for them to get to yours because it is everybody in the city of Chicago. Because it's the city of Chicago's budget year that ended December 31st of 2024. So every fiscal account in the city of Chicago is hitting the queue right now. All right. Any questions about that? Is it clear what we're asking you to do? Any questions? Thank you. At our last EDPD meeting, we did a lot of discussion around wellness, and we are following up with that with a survey. We'd like to ask more questions. We want to have more people respond because we do want this to be the year of wellness. And we want to figure out what we can do. How can we support? What else can we give you? How can we work with you? As we think about how we can make sure that we lift up wellness so that our teachers in our classrooms are getting what they need. As I said last time, that you're getting what you need as well. This isn't just about one group of folks, it's about all of us. Okay, so when you're responding, think holistically about your organization and please include yourself in that. That should have said pre-IPT. It was last night when I put that in there. Sorry, just noticed that typo. For those of you who are working with PFA, 3 and 4-year-olds, you're required to do the PIPT. The pre-IPT is moving to online data entry. You will still be sitting and doing it with the child, but then it goes into a system. CPS will be with us in our March meeting. What I'm asking you is anyone who's administering or anyone who needs to understand the how-tos behind what this change will be, I need them at the March meeting. So I'm giving you a heads up. CPS will be here to go over what their expectations are for pre-IPT. This change will be effective August of 2025, so it's the next program year. Okay? And so based on what comes out, we might need training or whatever, but I want to make sure that your folks are here so they can hear it, ask their questions, and see what else we need to make sure everybody's able to get that pre-IPT done. If you're not doing the pre-IPT 0 to 3, don't worry about it, but for 3 and 4-year-olds, it is that assessment that allows us to understand what the needs of a child is regarding language. Okay? When you came in, you were given a document on the CPS kindergarten admissions process. Previously, we had a visitor here who went over and talked to you to get your ideas on what it would mean to have CPS kindergarten process changed. It is effective. It has gone through board. It is effective, and you have the document with the language around how it's going out to parents and to the schools. Anybody from your quick cursory review of that have any questions about anything that it says in there? Anyone? So the big shift is there are some schools where children will have the option to go from pre-K into kindergarten. If children are in a different program, it's not automatic that they're automatically going to get it in a different school. If they have gone outside of their local school, for example, for preschool, and then wanting automatic in the kindergarten in their home school, it's not going to work. And so there are some buffers there, but everybody needs to understand that. Parents, as they get information, may be asking you, what does that mean for me? And so I've given you the language, please review it. And if you have questions and if we need CPS to come back, to go back over it, to help clarify anything, just let us know and we'll do that. But I just wanted to give you what we've been given regarding the new process. And so there will be children who will have automatic ability to go from pre-K into K. Okay. Questions? All right. So we have a new inaugural secretary for the Illinois Department of Early Childhood. Dr. Teresa Ramos has been appointed by our governor. And so that's there to let you know that that new department is not a division, it is a department, is moving towards complete development. It is anticipated that they're ready and the entire place will be set up, everything moving, decisions about where funding is and how it goes out by 2020, July 1 of 2026. So within the next year or so, all the decisions regarding state funding, and I'm saying that I need everybody to understand that your ISB funding, your ECBG funding, my IGA that funds you is also within discussion within that department. Any questions about that? Keep your eyes and ears open so that you know what's going on or anything going on around you. The Workforce Scholarship opens on January 22nd. Does everybody know what that is? The Chicago Early Learning Workforce Scholarship. Anyone who doesn't, raise your hand. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay to not know. It's so good no hands went up. That means they're going to use all the money, Mara. So it will open on January 22nd. So tell your people if you have staff who want to and need to apply, they need to make sure that they go ahead and get their applications in so that they can go through the system and be approved, we're hoping, to support them for their degrees and or certifications and or licensure. If they're looking for their Pell licensure, these applications are a part of that process as well. Any questions so far from me? Anyone? Yes, ma'am. So the question at the front regarding CPS policy, would this make parents more lean to put their child into a CPS school for pre-K to make sure that they can stay for K? Anybody who agrees with that statement, raise. Yes, they answered it. What we understand about parents is if they can get in somewhere where they need to be, and that local school is where they need to be, they're going to do what they have to do that. And we have to understand that regarding parents. Okay. And so, yes, it's not every school, but it's enough of them where some of those decisions will be made. Okay. Anybody else got questions about it? Anybody want to talk it through? Go right ahead. It is a CPS policy. As far as banding together, you need to be banding together to make sure that parents know who you are and what you do. And make sure your information is out there so that parents can know I can get the same service with a qualified teacher in my house. That's what's not said enough. Parents don't have the information that you have about your programs. If I'm a young parent and I went to a CPS school, I know about a CPS school. What do I know about CBO? Nothing. You got to help parents understand what you do behind your glass walls and doors. They don't know. And that's one of the things that's killing us in this field is people don't know that I can enroll my child in your program, and my 4-year-old, and my child can still transition off to kindergarten ready. I will tell you that our scores are higher than CPS's, and I'm very happy about that. In kindergarten readiness, okay? But parents don't know that, so we're not messaging well, and that's what we've all got to work on, is getting that message out there. Because again, I'm a parent, I need care. If I'm a working parent, you fit my need. But do I know that my child can be in your program for that number of hours? Not necessarily. I said in a different meeting, you have great banners and things outside your buildings, but it doesn't necessarily tell me what's going on inside. And so I may be driving by and I don't know. I've had people say, only because I saw somebody going in with a child did I know they took care of children in that building. And so we've got to do better about advertising. We've got to look outside our buildings to see, what do people see when they walk or drive past? Is it telling them what we can do? Be loud and proud about who you are and what you're doing for children and families. That's what we can do, is band together to get that messaging out there. How many of you are using websites? How many of you, let me just say this, please update y'all websites. Okay, I'm done with that because I'm looking at some websites and I want to call some people personally. It's like, I can't even find it out on your website. How many of you use social media? And what does social media say about you? That you what? That you serve children and, and, mm-hmm. Okay. Uh-huh, great, great. Does it say that children are going to be kindergarten ready when they leave you? Please, because if I'm a mother, that's what I'm looking for. I want to know that if I put my child over there, they're still going to leave kindergarten ready, like I believe they would if I put them over there in a CPS school. Do you say that you have certified qualified teachers? If you don't, you should. Put everything you can that will answer questions of somebody who don't know anything about what you do. Use social media, and I'm going to have Vera Communications to come in and talk about social media and the utilization of it so that you can be loud and proud and people can find you and enroll their children in your programs. Okay. But that's a couple of things that we've got to change, is how we message or not message the quality services that you guys are doing. Okay. And we have some work to do on that. Yes, Uli. They can go to kindergarten, but they won't necessarily get into their, for example, if I put Johnny in this preschool program over here because it was close to my work, but that's not my local school. That does not say my kid is going to get into that kindergarten program. Okay. They're going to have to apply like everybody else for that kindergarten program because they were for your neighbor. If you go somewhere else, it's not a given that just because, okay, understand let me finish. Kindergartens get full like everything else. Okay. And so, yes, I can go and put my kid into that kindergarten program after they finish your pre-K program. But it is not an automatic. Nobody's going to automatically put them at the top of the list. That parent's going to have to come through the process of enrollment. It's not an automatic, is what I'm saying. And parents will be told, if you're over here, you still have to go through the process to get into your local school once your child turns 5. That's for everybody. But the mistake that's happening, people are thinking it's going to be an automatic because I was in preschool. Parents hear part of messages. Parents don't hear all of messages. No. Yeah, it's not an automatic for all. It's not even an automatic for all schools, as it says. But our parents read a sentence and think that everything's done. And so if you read the sentence in there about going from preschool to kindergarten, parents automatically think, oh, it's a done deal. They still have to go to their local school. They still have to do everything that's required to enroll that child in that K program. They're still going to be working on the part of mom. Okay. Any other questions? Or if we want, we can have CPS come back and clarify a little bit more about that process. Is that what you want? Yes? Okay. We'll have them come back. Thank you. Next. Who's doing New Year, New Parent Policy? You? Yeah. Yeah. 1 second, Chris. 1 second, Chris. I tried. I tried. Man, I tried. Yes. Boy, I was trying to get past. They looked at the slides, they said, you didn't put it in there. I know. I know I didn't, because they're not gonna ask me. Okay, I knew you were gonna ask me, but let me say this. We have meetings or trying to get meetings with Office of Budget and Management and Law. There's all these steps that we have to go through. So transition of commissioner, transition and other people, we're trying to get meetings with Office of Budget and Management and Law because they have to approve everything that we're doing. I have not been able to get those meetings yet. And so we're trying. We have one tomorrow, but we couldn't get them both in the room. We were trying to get them both there. So I've got one meeting that I'll be able to get tomorrow, I believe is with law, but I still haven't been able to get to Office of Budget and Management. Okay, so we're still working the process. More to come. We'll let you know. I tried. Correct. That's a question I can't answer because that gets into the body of the RFP. Okay. Let me say this. I love all of you, but I am now walking a really fine line by even letting the words RFP come out of my mouth because everybody on the outside who isn't funded by us will say, we saw, that's why they don't. We saw they're talking about the RFP, but they didn't tell us the same thing. I'm telling you the same thing. I'm telling everybody else. I'm not there yet. As soon as we know, we will let you know. I can't answer any questions about any point of language in the RFP. I can't give you an advantage that the rest of the city of Chicago or whomever doesn't have. And so I don't want it to come back. And for those of you who don't know, in 2019, it was a whole lot of fun after, because we had 4 lawsuits after that. None about this, okay? But I will tell you, one of the things that happens when you start getting to this is I have had, and maybe I can look around, I don't see anybody in the suit today, because law will be in the room watching me to make sure that I'm not saying anything that's jeopardizing this RFP because it's huge, right? And so I am going to stay in my little box. I'm going to say nothing more than it's coming. Okay, thank you. On you, Matt.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. How excited am I to be up here talking about something that is not CSD Cares? I'm thrilled. Thank you, Sir Rachel, for doing that for me. I am me still, so I am going to nag you, but I'm going to hold off on that for a moment. And I want to just take the opportunity to stress the importance and centrality to the Head Start, early Head Start programs of shared governance, of parent involvement, and so on. Because for those of you in the Head Start program, you might have been in here for so long that you've forgotten where it comes from, but Head Start was a part of the Great Society, and it came into being with kind of a vision that it would be supported by and governed by the community that's being served. So this is why there's an in-kind requirements. It's there to show that the community is involved and supportive of the program. And then in terms of decision-making and governance, we need to make every effort to get parent input and involvement and approval for the direction of the program, for changes to the program, all of those things to make certain that we are continuing to meet the needs of our customers. And if we don't listen to them and get their input, how do we know that we're doing that? So I'm just going to take a few minutes here. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just want to remind everybody what I'm talking about. So the Citywide Parent Policy Council is one, along with the board, is one of the governing bodies that oversees all of the Head Start grants that come through the city of Chicago. So an agency, as is defined in the performance standards, must establish and maintain a formal structure for program governance, and the policy council is part of that. It's part of what we call collaborative governance, which means that control over the grant is shared among the program management, which would be those of us here in this room, but also the Chicago Council on Urban Opportunities, which is our board as designated by city council, and then the citywide parent policy committee. Next, please. So the CPPC, that's what I'm so excited about. We have a new group with the new year that happens every year. So we've got new incoming parents, and that's exciting because the last couple years we have had difficulty at many of the meetings establishing a quorum and us getting the input that we need and the approval that we need and the business that we need done. So with the new group, we're seeing this as a new opportunity to get everyone on board and be more effective moving forward. So what I'm talking about, it's a parent advisory body that has representatives from all of the programs that are sub-grantees through our grants. That's all of the grants, Head Start and Early Head Start, the partnership grant, the expansion grant. So there's about 200 sites that this affects throughout the city right now, serving about 4,000 children. And again, the program is intended to help families. And so the actual clients, right, our customers, the people who we serve are the parents and their families and the children. And so again, we need to involve them in making sure that our policies and plans are effective in meeting those needs. Next, please. So what do? They're responsible for the Head Start program direction. That's straight from the performance standards. So they approve and submit decisions to us regarding parent involvement activities, program recruitment, selection, enrollment priorities, funding amendments. So when we're talking about doing a change of scope, we need the parents to be on board with that, and anything that we implement, it will need to be approved by the parents. They set their own bylaws. They approve major hiring and firing decisions, set their own election procedures as a self-governing body, and make recommendations on us to who we should fund, where services are needed, and so on. And they are involved in approving hires at the DFSS level up to and including our program director. And they receive monthly reports on all of your activities to the extent that we can get them BIR data, we get them the funding reports, attendance, all information that we gather needs to be reported to our governing bodies. Next, please. So who are they? So 51% of them are parents of our current programs, including, as we intend anyway, one from each of our sub-grantees, one from each of our delegate agencies. Now, I'm not going to, I said I would hold off on nagging, so I'm not going to name names right now, although I could. Well, as of looking at the information yesterday, I had 2 sub-grantees that had not given us the name information of the parent to participate on the council. So this is your chance to have your parent giving us input on the direction of the program. So we need one from everybody. In my vision, in the ideal world, you've got your own parent policy committees up and running as you are required to do, and you are sending the citywide council a representative from that group to give us input from that group, and then go back to that group and report out and say, this is what they're doing on the city level. But they can't do that if they're not there. So I'm just afraid I'll get it wrong. Do you remember? Can you tell me who it is? Christopher House. Is it comments? Guys have comments? I apologize if that's wrong, but I believe you guys haven't sent us You're delegate for this year. So that's important because our first meeting and where we're going to do the orientation and begin the process of training is Tuesday. Yes. Okay. Can you send me their name and email address? We need to get an account for them in the whole training. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, for the moment, then I'm done nagging. So, and then the rest of the, besides the parents from current agencies, the rest of the council is made of former parents, subject matter experts in areas related to developments. And then we have some community representatives from the community at large. Next, please. There we go. So we do have expectations that we want you guys to help reinforce. So again, we can make this process as effective as we can. So the first is we would like everyone to attend the meetings. If they're not able to attend the meetings, please inform us. Again, there is a special a program governance email address that you can send this to. It's cellsplanning@cityofchicago.org. I also noticed, again, I'm new in this area, but what I did notice is that almost everyone who has sent us a delegate also has identified an alternate. So if at your level, if we could find out whether your parent is able to attend, and if not, talk to the alternate and get them to attend in their place, this would help us greatly with establishing quorum and getting the necessary business done. We need people to be prompt. We have given up a couple times, and then later on, other people logged in and they're just coming in later. So again, if someone can't participate at the time that the meeting is supposed to start, if you can let us know, and we will hold off for the parts that we need a quorum for until everybody is there. And again, the idea is this is a delegate from your parent committee. So we want them to report back to that body and let them know what's going on, what information that we have reported out to parents and so on at the citywide level. We want them to work with us and to support two-way communication between parents and staff. Again, we need the feedback in order to make properly informed decisions about what services we are offering, and how we're doing that. So next, please. So why does any of this matter? First of all, because getting parents involved in running the program and making decisions is going to support stronger family engagements. This is good for both us and empowering for the parents. It supports community collaboration. Again, we are here to serve our communities to meet their needs and improve conditions there. And it ensures a parent voice in decision-making, which again is one of the most crucial part of this and was more part of the idea behind many of the Great Society programs, that recipients matter, that their policies and services that we are establishing are there for them and need to be informed by them. Next, please. So how can agency staff help? In other words, why is Craig up here talking about this stuff? First of all, you can encourage attendance. It is online for now. One of the items that we would like to discuss at the meeting is to determine where and how we can return to having an in-person component. We will probably continue to be hybrid for the future, but if we can get the parents together, that will enable us to do some things like give them stuff, we can feed them, and we can build relationships with them. So that is coming up, and when that happens, please help us disseminate that information and encourage participation and ask them how it went. The second, you can share meeting dates and times during interactions and other other kinds of communication, like if you're sending out emails to your parents, you have a newsletter, you're texting people, using a parent portal, any of these things, just, use that opportunity to share out the information about upcoming parent activities. Next, please. So I'm gonna give that to you, and so you can bring it back. The date and time, it is
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I know it says Monday. And now I've looked at this thing so many times and it's just never like hit me because we are closed on Monday. So the first day of next week, that's why it's. But Tuesday, January 21st at 10:30 a.m. And this is a virtual meeting. It is on Teams. We have sent out the link to everybody. But if anybody wants it, I can't find that right now, but is planning on or could participate, let me know and we'll add you to the invite. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Question, does anyone have any questions or need help with anything regarding CCAP and CCAP billing? If so, raise your hands. CCAP billing? Oh, now you raise your hand. She said, clarify that. Yes, me. Tiffany, raise your hand. She's right there, ready to help. All right, thanks, Tiffany. She's here. She'll be here just in case anybody else has any questions or need help. Thanks, B. Yes. TSANG, did I say it right? Okay. Yes.
Good morning, directors. I'm B. Nichols over Health and Safety. So there are just a few announcements that I want to make. I'm so glad Craig led with this advisory structure for her parents. So I'm piggybacking on that and reminding everyone that we have a health services advisory committee. That's another very important committee. It's not only important to Head Start, it's also important to our PFAs and PIs. Everyone has a requirement for an advisory committee. And I would like more family participation. We haven't had very much of that. We've mostly had staff, and we love seeing your staff. But we also want to encourage our families to be there, as well as any stakeholders who want to learn more about what we do. All right, so let me just give you a quick overview of the structure. We really pared back on our health services advisory. We used to meet, I think, monthly years ago. Now we meet quarterly. So there's a meeting in October, which typically opens us up. And then January and April are the content specific meetings. Those are our subcommittee meetings. And then in June is our end of the year meeting. So watch your CSD updates so you can get these dates. You can register. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I need to make these meetings mandatory. Why? Because attendance has been waning. And when our funders come out, what they want to see, they identified this an Office of Head Start as a strength of ours. I want to continue to see that. So we will be tracking attendance. Whether you want to, I heard somebody say, yes. Maybe that may go away if we get that attendance up, but right now we have to have the attendance. So I know you still have to run program. So you can decide whether you want to send one individual to represent your agency or if you want to send people per content area. So what are the three subcommittees? One is health services. And health services encompasses mental health, dental, nutrition. Did I leave anything out? I think so. So it's really huge. We cover a lot of areas. Our leads for that particular subcommittee is Chicago Department of Public Health. They're there. They give us really good resources and information. If any of you were able to make last week's meeting or any of your staff, they should have come back and told you a lot that went on there. The next subcommittee is our Education Disability Subcommittee. And we met a couple of days ago this week. And I'm looking at the two of the 3 leads for that, the 4 leads. Nancy Millsap-Thomas and Gina Pacello. For those of you who remember Gina, she's back with us now. Yay. But they lead that subcommittee along with Erickson Institute. We will be having someone from Teaching Strategies join us for that April meeting. And then the last subcommittee is Family and Community Engagement. And so myself and Catherine will be leading that next week on the 21st. But we will do that with DCFS. So if you have any questions for DCFS, or you want to learn any resources that they now have out of the school readiness team, then join us or send someone to that meeting. All right, any questions about the Health Services Advisory Committee? They're really good meetings. I mean, I'm not just saying that they are. Okay. Hearing and vision schedule and cooperative agreements. I know by now, many of you know we have 1 hearing and vision technician. Okay. We also have a supervisor over hearing and vision who jumps in, assists, especially with the larger programs. But we really need your assistance. First of all, there's a very tight schedule that we adhere to. So Rachel, I love that announcement about unannounced, announced visits. Our visits are always announced for hearing and vision. We want to make sure that you know ahead of time and that those children are there because we have the 1 technician. So please tell your staff, let her in, let her do her job, make sure that you have adequate space for her to do it. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact Angela Hughes, who's in the back, or myself, because we really want to support Kenya in this. Are we still looking for a hearing and vision technician? Of course. Remember, they have to be certified in both hearing and vision through Illinois Department of Public Health. So if you know of anybody, let me and Angela know. Cooperative agreements. I have been hearing from many of you that have the PFA standalones. I hear you. I get your emails. You want resources. One of the ways that we have been doing that is to speak with CPS's health unit, Ken Papineau and his team. What Ken does is he goes into the sites at the schools. So any of you that are connected to the schools, you will receive hearing and vision screening through CPS's team. But those of you that are not connected to schools, we have reached out and asked Ken, what can we do? Can he take some of this lift? We also contacted Child Fire. Currently, they don't have a hearing and vision screener on their team. So remember, we were sending you to Child Fire. We can't do that right now. So we are working. We are trying to find resources. And there'll be more to come on that. But basically, If you can get a cooperative agreement with any techs that are certified that are out there, I would highly recommend that you do that. And if you need our assistance, our guidance for us to look at the qualifications, please reach out to Angela or myself. Any questions? Yes. You mean, okay, so the question was, is the certification a big lift? Do you mean, no, it isn't. Okay. So I love what you said. If you have the internal capacity to support someone through the training, the issue with that is, and I'm looking at Angela, is that we have an excellent relationship with IDPH. And every year we go to IDPH and say, can you open up some slots for training so we can get these people trained? And that is another avenue that we're trying to explore. Um, Heavy lift in terms of the testing itself. It may be for some people. But again, if we can get IDPH to give us X amount of slots, then we will get back with you, have you send those prospects to us and see what we can do around helping them. Okay. Very good question. Anything else? I don't know that it's the only place that they can get trained, but it is free. And if you're going through the state, well, it isn't free. Let me take that back. It is a fee associated with it. But it's not, I think, I want to say $45, something like that, to sit down and take the test. Maybe a little more than that. Do you remember how much the fee is to take the test? $400. I don't know where I got 45. Okay. Thank you, Angie. It's a big lift. But it's a need. And so what you're doing really is you're investing in people. So when you think about professional development across the board, is it really that big of a lift? Okay, so that's any other questions around here in vision? All right, moving on to the CDPH Care Van. How many of you know about this resource where they give immunizations, they give vaccines, they're mobile? So I've been in conversations with them because I've been saying, we got kids out there who need follow-up, and we're really looking to be compliant with the feds. And they said, okay, well, we have a schedule. Maybe we can work with you and your programs. What we tried to do today, because we knew that they were going to one of our sites, is to connect. When they were going over there to that site, we had another site who we knew babies needed immunizations. So we said, could you go to that site and then drop by this site? Because it wasn't too far away. I would like to be able to do more of that with them, where we can connect clusters and they can come and they can get your children. So I'm really excited about that. If you all are interested, let me know. Send me your email address and we'll try to do that connection. And then lastly, disability 10%. I want to give a shout out to our disability service coordinators. They have been doing an awesome job, awesome this year. Did I give them a little push? Yes, I did. I said right before we went out on holiday break, I need referrals. Poor Nancy. How many referrals did we get, Nancy? About over 200 referrals, which is very impressive. Yes, clap for yourselves. Now, mind you, that's 3 to 5. Okay, very impressive. And I did that because I knew that after they got back from the break, things were going to kind of level out. So poor Nancy, she's been doing an excellent job going through those referrals, and they're very good referrals. Very good. They're complete packages. That's what we want to see. So all the trainings that they've been attending has worked. Okay. So disability service coordinators, that's a very heavy job. Used to be one, still can't get away from disabilities. But for somebody who has disabilities and education and maybe something else, it becomes even more difficult. So I just want you to think about that. I know we're not talking about that new sales RFP, but just think about staffing structure and how you need to arrange stuff. For the birth to 3 side, I think we're looking pretty good on those referrals too. That would be the Erickson team who works with us and does an excellent job. I want to also say kudos to our PFA programs. One of the reasons we had this significant increase is because of PFA. So Nancy and Gina will be working together feverishly to make sure that they're helping you to get those babies into CPS's system and get them evaluated. I think we have some other hurdles that may be coming up in the future when we look at summer assessment and how long it's going to be. We're still waiting. The verdict is out on that. But summer assessment is crucial for us to move those babies through and get them evaluated and get their IEP before that new year. So I'm just putting that out there. If we get any more news about that, we'll share. All right, any questions about that? Yes, Zuby. Okay, so Zuby, just to paraphrase, she started with, is there a possibility that will allow the agencies who are doing referrals to just go ahead and submit them so they don't have any lag time? And I'm thinking, saying in my head, yes, yes, yes. So if you're feeling confident about that, I'm sure you won't hear any complaints out of us, but we just want to make sure that those packages are complete. The second part of your questions was around lag time. You have children out there that have been evaluated, but there are no seats.
If they enroll after the program year starts and their assessments packages are completed around, well, after Christmas, consistently these last 2 years, we found that they have no slots by the time that they've been assessed and get their IEP, that there's just no more seats for them.
I wonder if that's going on in particular schools. Go ahead.
If I can share, to be honest, yes, that is a concern, and we're in communication with our manager regarding it for the Office of Early Childhood Special Education, because just yesterday we had a child who was found eligible for services, but the family said, could they go to the school closest to your program? And they said, no, actually, we don't have a seat for this child, only one 7 miles away. And so that is not acceptable, right? But they said they would put the child on the wait list at the school near your program. Again, not acceptable. This child is entitled to receive services, so it is a larger issue that we need to address.
Thank you, Gina. And if you want to share with us which particular schools, it's not as if you're telling Homa, but if we know, maybe we can work with them directly.
I agree because my niece goes to Lakeview and she's been approved for occupational and speech. But they already told us that she won't get speech until she comes to CPS for kindergarten.
Mm.
And this just happened last Thursday. And because, I'm sorry,
There's a shortage of speech pathologists.
so it's true.
Yeah. But any individual cases like that, if they're enrolled in our programs, let us know. Because these ladies are excellent. Half the things that they do is that triage and helping to get children where they need to be. So that's why we have them here. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, next slide. Next presenter.
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for walking across the screen. I'm Sharon Davis, and I'm the supervisor of accounting for Children's Services grants and programs. So what we have here on this slide is the FY24s and closeout process. These are your grants that ended November 30th of 2024. So what I would say to these, if for those of you who have in-kind reports that are due, please do submit those now. All in-kind is due for the 2024 grants that ended November 30th. And these expenditures that we have for Head Start got 85% expended. Early Head Start, 70% expended, CCP, 61% expended, and expansion, 68% expended. And so for all of these, I hope everyone has been notified. You have until January 31st to get all of your 2024 vouchers submitted. And that includes vouchers that were rejected or debit memos, any resubmissions, all invoices need to be in by January 31st. So the next slide we have is FY25. Those are the new budgets that just started December 1st of 2024 and ends in November 30th, 2025. And so these we have Head Start, 38% expended, Early Head Start, 34% expended, CCP, 38% expended, and expansion, 44% expended at this time. That's pretty good for right now. Less than 1%, that's true. And so now we have the state programs. You got ECBG and CCAP, and right now you have 27% expended for ECBG and 16% expended for CCAP. We do understand the challenges with CCAP program, and we are working through those and trying to develop a manual way to process your billing. And it's challenging for the staff, but what I will say is that if your agency is experiencing any challenges, please let us know so that we can have the developer to work directly with you. And also the CCAP team will be reaching out, asking you for your manual attendance. And when they send you emails, please do respond right away so that we can process your manual billing as well. Thank you. And so as a summary, the FY24 Head Start programs, invoices through November 30th period should be submitted by this time. So those invoices, you still have until January 31st to get those in. Deadline reminders, January 31st, 2025 invoice submission cutoff. This includes resubmissions of rejected invoices and or deletion memos. To avoid year-end reimbursement issues, ensure that your invoices are submitted far in advance of this cutoff date. You may have received emails from DFSS stating that the date was January 15th. That was an effort to be able to push the submissions on a little faster. What happens is a lot of times agencies may not have a chance to submit their invoices sooner. Maybe your budgets may be in process, or maybe you're still waiting for board signatures, whatever the case. Maybe your budget is still under review by DFSS. But in any event, the final deadline is January 31st. We would shoot for January 15th. That is past us, but the sooner you can get them in, the better. An influx of invoices toward the end of the deadline period, it really creates a lot of work for our staff and for the voucher auditing team over in City Hall. So we do recommend you submit them as soon as possible. Also, for the Head Start program for 2025, upon review of your initial budget, submit your December 2024 invoices as soon as possible, no later than January 31st, 2025. Be on the lookout for communication regarding 2024 accrual process. So we will be reaching out to everyone if you need to accrue any invoices that you were not able to submit by January 31st. All right, are there any questions for anyone? I'm sorry, I have one more slide. I'm so sorry. I have childcare. We are working to manually bill with delegates to get them paid. Please quickly respond to SSCs once they reach out to you. PIPFA invoices through December 31st period. Coverage should be submitted at this time. All July through December 2024 invoices should be submitted no later than January 31st, 2025. And here are some contacts for iSupplier. Please be on the lookout for the iSupplier training schedule of 2025. We usually try to include that in our communications. We send out, if we say your budget is approved, we try to include the link to iSupplier. So they're updating the dates for that. But the website is down below. Also, the insurance, make sure that your insurance is up to date. We recommend that you update it on MyCoy, also with your contract liaison at DFSS, and also with GPAD insurance. Email address. If you need that email address, you can definitely reach out to us. And also, you want to make sure in iSupplier, your insurance is uploaded there. So you want to make sure across all boards, everyone has your insurance. So it may be updated on one site, but not on another. So you want to make sure everything is updated. All certificates and any waivers that you need to request, please do so in MyCoy. Keep your iSupplier contacts up to date in order to receive proper communications from Voucher Audit during the invoice review. So what happens is if you notice that your invoices are taking a long time to get approved, sometimes there may be something wrong with the invoice. Sometimes the invoice may have a large amount of source documentation that the staff is trying to review. Or sometimes someone may be trying to contact you, asking you for clarification or additional details. But if your information in iSupplier is not updated, then they may be reaching out to outdated email addresses. So you make sure that you visit iSupplier and make sure all of your contacts are updated there, because in-house, we keep a manual listing of our contacts. But over in the controller's office, they only go by what's in iSupplier. All right, so per contract requirements, invoices should be submitted at a minimum monthly. Review your iSupplier frequently to reconcile and determine any submission, resubmission needs. And also there's the website for the iSupplier training and reference materials. And for finance contacts, for the Head Start, corporate, and PIPFA, we have Laverne Coleman. And for child care, we have Selena Ruan. So if you need anything, if you have any questions, you can reach out to them and they can get the information and forward it over to the responsible person. Are there any questions? Thank you, everyone.
Hey. A lot of stuff going on here and it's gonna be okay. Good morning, I'm Ken McGee with Claridine. We are the PDM Sports Services contractor for DFSS. So I wanted to go through a couple of updates. Try to- Yes. Can everybody still hear me okay? All right, great. So we wanted to talk about a couple of things this morning. First and foremost is the health and safety module that most folks should be familiar with at this point. This is the module for 2024, 2025. Okay. So first things are module went live November 27th, 2024. And what we did was that any user that completed the module in the 2023, 2024 module, they were automatically enrolled into the new module. So we had roughly about 1,800 users that were automatically enrolled. So that meant that your staff didn't need to go back and enroll again. So we wanted to give folks a jump start as quickly as possible without going through extra administrative processes that they didn't have to do. Now, if you had not completely finished the module, then you had to re-register for this year, right? And on top of that, in some instances, there were some instances where folks had to reach out to us because maybe they registered last year, completed the module, but they did it with their Gmail account or their Yahoo account. And now they work for a new agency and their Yahoo account is still connected to their old agency. So those are some of those instances where folks needed to make a change. And in some instances, we've also realized that some of the staff that completed it might have actually left and they're not doing those type of roles anymore. So in those instances, I'm going to talk to you about that in a second, about one of the things that we also put out actually about a week ago was that there's a button now, and you would have gotten an email too if you don't actually use the module anymore to be able to unenroll from the module too. Okay. Our roadmap sort of after the base module being released, which was done on the 27th. Our next part is going to be, we're going to have a part 2 for the module, which is going to focus on wellness in the workplace. That module you will be automatically, if you're a user now, you will be automatically enrolled in that module as well. So when you log in, you will see another course basically that you will take. Okay. That course will generate a separate certificate. Your certificates that you have for completion right now, they will stay as they are, right? Just like your certificate from 2023, 2024, you can still, if you need to reprint that certificate, you can still reprint that certificate. So this one will be an additional piece there. And we're looking at the end of Q1, 2025, so around March at the later part of March. And also we will have a Spanish version of the module too by that time. That's another part of my roadmap as well. Before I switch screens, any questions on this part so far? So just real quick, couple of hands, and you can just sort of holler out a little bit. How many completed users do you think we have now since November to now? What would you guess? 1,000? 1,200? Everyone would be really great. But you're pretty close though. We're at 1275 right now, as of this morning. 1,275 users have completed. So clap your hands. Thank you all very much. Okay. So we got some more work to do, but you want to encourage your staff to do the work that's needed. Also, a couple of sort of misconceptions that I think we're seeing a little bit is that sometimes we see folks will say that, yeah, I did the 2023, 2024 module, right? I don't need to do the next one. They need to do the next one. So you want to make sure that your staff knows that. DFSS will get our monthly reports about how many users have completed the module, right? And also have the number of folks who are registered in your agency as well. Sometimes that's going to include some duplicates. But the biggest piece is that, and I look around sort of, just looking around, let's say, if you're an agency, and let's say you're Twinkle Toes agency, right? And they look in and they see that the number of completed users you have is 1, right? Does that mean that Twinkle Toes is in compliance? No, they can't be, because there's no reason that any agency should have just 1 user complete, right? If you're operating a program for DFSS, nobody's just a program of 1, right? So if we see a 1, we know you got work to do, right? So you want to make sure that folks recognize that it's an at your own pace module. They can pretty much do it anytime, 24 hours a day. The system doesn't shut down, but it's doing it, but you got to check in with your staff to ask them, did they get it done, right? So that's just one of those places that you want to do. In the event that someone needs to register, that is the QR code right there. And it's going out in the weekly CSD updates as well. And then, oh, what? No, I will go back if somebody's trying to. Okay, excuse me. So that'll take you straight to the registration link right there. Seeing cameras, everybody good? Sort of good? Couple more. Yeah. So if you're taking a picture of the QR code and you get the link there, email it on to yourself, text it to your staff, say get started if you haven't started, right? And real quick, you can take a picture of this because this actually goes to our website for the register that has information about registration. It has FAQs as well about the module. Also has the unenrollment button on there as well in the event that someone needs to unenroll. So it's a pretty simple URL. It's earlychild.edu.info, right? And that is where we will continue to put updates for the module, including the wellness piece. There'll be announcements on that webpage. So bookmark it, go to it as needed, and it will be in the CSD updates as well. Okay. Any questions here?
Will it go to your gateways?
Gateways, you will put your gateways ID. We're working on getting your gateways hours, number of hours that will go there. You can self-report to gateways right now, but we're working on trying to get the number of hours that you service. Yes. You started putting them in already. Okay. Great. So yes. So that means from your staff to encourage them to also include the gateways ID number so they can get the proper credit for completing. Okay. Great question. Anything else? Go back one more. So now I'm going to pivot a little bit. Fiscal community of practice, starting up for 2025, our fiscal community of practice, which happens on the 3rd Fridays of each month. Our first session for 2025 will be February 21st at 1 o'clock, and it's a 1.5 hour meeting, sort of standing meeting for the fiscal community of practice. And in that meeting, that's an opportunity for us to be able to talk about fiscal and administrative issues, more fiscal, but sometimes there'll be a little bit administrative around contracts or something else along those lines. In those meetings, you will have of course, your staff, your fiscal staff, and program directors, anybody else is welcome as well. You'll have folks from DFS Finance, also from CSD Finance, and occasionally you may even have someone from another department as well, depending on what's going on. And you will also have the Clarion staff there as well. And the goal is for us collectively, not just individually, but collectively, to get better at the jobs and the roles that we do. When we talk about what's going on from a fiscal standpoint, everybody on the call gets that benefit as far as what's going on. Sometimes folks will talk about challenges. I'll look at my friend from El Valor. She'll tell me about challenges that she's having. But when she talks about those challenges, everybody else on the call also hears about those challenges. And then they'll also hear from FSS staff about maybe how you need to approach it or who you need to reach out to. And that collective piece helps. And that also influences the way that we actually train too, based on the feedback, so we can all sort of stay current about what people are experiencing now. So it's a lot easier to train about what's happening currently than to train from a perspective of something that might have been a year or 2 years older, right? We want to train on what's going to help you operationally be better now. Does that make sense to everybody? So, and we also want to have another survey this year just saying what your fiscal needs are, what your challenges are, right? Some of them, we have an idea about what they're going to be. There's some things that are going to happen. This is a bigger QR code real quick, just in case folks want to register, your staff can register. They'll be on the actual meeting invite for the rest of the year. So it should be pretty straightforward. And again, this is sort of what, yeah.
You have to re-register?
No,
Oh.
you were already in.
Oh, okay.
You should have gotten an update saying that for February on through 2025. Once you're in, until you tell us you want to be out, you are in. Okay. So, but as you can see, this is meant to be a group of folks together, working together around a common challenge that's there as far as fiscal. And fiscal presents itself as a challenge because sometimes a lot of agencies, how many folks have a fiscal staff of 5 or more people? Anybody? No. How many have 3 people? You got 3. So depending on the millions of dollars you're managing and the oversight that's required, you think about the size of your fiscal infrastructure, right? And usually if you're down to like 1 or 2 fiscal people, you don't have a lot of peers to kick things back and forth with. You just don't about what's going on. But when you can bring into a bigger environment of folks like, yeah, I got a deletion on this voucher for this. Nobody else, if you're a staff of 1 or 2, nobody else is going to speak to it from any other perspective than just what you have in-house. But you can hear from someone else, well, we did, and this is how we resolved it, and this is what they said to us. That's sort of that inside sort of look at things that's more operational. Other thing is too, it's sometimes good for your finance contacts. Like Sharon came up here earlier, she's on our meetings, right? You'll have Frederick on our meetings. You'll have Nicole on our meetings. For them to hear what your challenges are from your voice versus hearing from just an email, where you might be upset at 7 o'clock at night and you send them 1 or 2 sentences, and some of them might be in caps, but they don't get the full gist about what you're saying. So you want to be able to be in a place where you can have an open, free conversation. That's why I encourage the fiscal community of practice to be able to say that you can try to find some ways to operate better, which is better for your agency. So if you're a director here, encourage your fiscal folks to do things, because we were talking about vouchering and closing out in November, right? Even in October. So when we say, when Sharon says January 15th, folks who were practicing their business, they were already preparing for that early on, knowing that it's first in, first out, right? So if you get your vouchers in late, going into that, everything trying to fit into one pipe, you're gonna have a cash flow problem, maybe 60 days, maybe longer. So just being able to put it in perspective, that's one of the important things about why it's important for you to attend. Next thing we want to talk about is, we're also, another project that we're supporting is CARES Help Desk Tickets. So we have one sliver of the channel. There was a video link that will be on the ServiceNow ticket actual, when you log in to do a ticket and ticket into ServiceNow. That's going to talk about clarity for tickets and how you can help us to help you to be able to get better resolution for your tickets. Because a lot of times, time, which none of us have enough of, gets wasted from folks submitting the ticket real quick, but not giving enough information in order for folks to be able to do an actual search to try to figure out what your issue is. I know that everybody in this room does not, how many people in this room actually submit help desk tickets to CSD Cares? I see a few hands. It's not the whole universe, and the way it's been designed is that you sometimes you have sort of cares gatekeepers who are the ones who are funneling up those particular questions. So those are the most critical folks because they're going to be the ones saying that there's a problem on behalf of your agency about doing something. One of the things that we've seen, especially with what comes down through our trench, is that sometimes when we respond to folks, a lot of times it was around rollover. Like they didn't have program enrollments, they couldn't do rollover. But we also saw that some folks had program enrollments. We looked a little bit further. Guess what we didn't see? Attendance. We didn't see attendance. And when we don't see attendance, but understandably, there's one issue about children who are in school not coming over to CSD Cares. Fully get that. But if your child is in CSD Cares, what's the next expectation for you? You should be doing what? Taking attendance, right? So if you're a program director and we're thinking about adoption for the system, what's an easy way to sort of gauge whether or not you have adoption into the system? Are you taking attendance on a daily basis, right? We saw some where folks have been, kids been there since September, but there's been no attendance record. So if attendance isn't being taken, that's something actionable that you can actually work with your staff to figure out what's going on with attendance. Come to find out in our meeting we had, our help desk support meeting, is that there's actually instructions there for people to do bulk updates for attendance that was over, right? To be able to do it at a bulk level. How many folks have used the bulk updated attendance feature in Cares? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put out a help video about using the bulk attendance update in Cares to be able to say, you know what? Knowing is part of the battle, right? You're going to know how to do it. After that, the expectation is going to be that you do it. So at least for the kids that you do have in Cares that you're taking attendance, and if they're no longer attending, you're moving them out from those classrooms. Other part is too, is that Craig mentioned ISB indirectly, that when we talk about reports going to CPS, that they can't really have blanks there, right? So how many folks understand all the fields that you need to have filled out for an ISB history? Yes, okay, good. So we got one out of many that, which is good. This is a start. So we want to ask that question in about a month to see that at least, I don't know if you're doing it, but you're going to know how to do it. Yeah, question.
Follow up to okay, just to, but then it's just like my programs, attendance is different with home visiting. I know we still have to submit, we're doing the survey monkey thing right now, so is that gonna change in CSD Cares, like to better fit the home visiting attendance?
As far as the weekly visiting piece,
Yeah,
that should be on the roadmap yeah, it should be on the roadmap.
okay.
Yeah.
It's in the works.
So, yeah, I mean, the big thing is that, and the other part about, like here, when we talk about quality tickets, the better the quality of the ticket that you submit, the more insight we have as far as which things start to trend up as far as what numerous users are actually experiencing with the system, which is something that Craig's team, data team, the developer, Soraya, everybody needs to know what things are coming up as trends, because those start to be what some of the priority fixes that need to happen as well, if there is a fix. So we want to make sure that we get quality tickets so we can provide you with quality help, but you also help us to be able to provide proactive quality help as well, because that's part of that allows us to be able to sort of discern a little bit, to be able to see what are potential issues before we have to deal with them on our front step all the time with them, be it the issues. So help us to be proactive by giving good tickets. Any other questions about that? So I got two deliverables I know I said we're gonna do, right? We're gonna do one about what needs to be in the ISB history, right? And what was the other one, somebody? Bulk attendance, yeah. So I'm gonna ask them about, let me get back on the agenda next time for us to be able to just do that, okay? So that'll be part of our work in progress. But, you know, we want to have a road to adoption, as Rachel says. So we just want to have a road to adoption. And there's some things that you're not gonna figure out everything, but I think we can land on that. We can agree that we should, does everybody sort of agree we should be able to take attendance in the system if the kids are there? Okay, all right. So that's gonna be sort of our ground, at least for me, that's our ground one starting point, okay? Taking attendance, okay? Last thing but not least is that we offer a series of trainings throughout the year, right? You see them in CSD updates, you'll see them other places. The other thing that we decided to do last year was that we created a listserv where we publish out just once a month, just these are our trainings coming up for the month. So you get a real unique email blast just for that. And you most likely won't hear from us maybe not again until the next month. But get on the listserv and, you know, we can see who's opened the emails, who hasn't, if you're part of the listserv. We sent out one yesterday. We've seen the number of folks who did open it up or whatever. And then, you know, on the back end, what our hope is that correlation will lead to additional people registering for the upcoming trainings because you've got something targeted that you can have action on right here, right now, to be able to do that. So that's why we're doing the listserv, because we want to just give you one extra reminder where you can filter out from some other things. And this is just what's happening with training. And you can hopefully share that with your staff as well. Last sort of PSA for me is that our Head Start calculator training is full at this moment right now for the upcoming date. So that one is full, but we are going to be looking at trying to schedule some more. And we'll let you know after February for that. And we got really, everybody wanted to take the training. So we got over 150 people registered for this one training. So we had to cap it, but we're going to have some additional sessions. I got a question over here. Yeah.
So back to the attendance piece, to what extent, and I apologize if this is a silly question, should we be able to run reports and monitor data quality?
The reporting piece, I think, is still the challenge, but we can walk through what you should be able to see. Okay, we can walk, yeah, right.
Yeah. Thank you. It's not live in the system right now, so I can't confidently promise anything until I've tested it live. But we have been working on new attendance reports, and there was one that I saw in the testing environment yesterday that might make it a lot easier for you to check and see how much attendance has been taken and what's missing. That is supposed to go live after hours tonight. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to come in and test it. And if it's functioning well in the live environment, then we'll send out information about that and tell you all how to run the report. So it's not there today, but maybe tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. Yes. I don't have answers on health status reports right now. I can get back to you. There are like enrollment by funding model reports in there. I right now, I don't know who has access to do what. If you go into the report section and look at all reports and search for my initials, like just type in CV and look, because I have enrollment and attendance reports for both last program year and this program year in the system. It won't come up. A frustrating thing in working in a Salesforce environment is that every single screen that you go to, it shows you recently viewed material. So if you've never looked at it, it's not on the default screen, even if it exists. So this is for everybody. When I put a report in there, I start it, the name with CZ, and I put it in public folder, which everybody should be able to get at. So if you search for them and run it once, then it will show up on your recently viewed list. But I don't remember the whole name because it's, 2024, 25 enrollment by grant or something like that. But search for it. Yes. And again, the next thing, once we get reports that we're satisfied with, we're gonna have to basically do some kind of audit to see who has access to do what, because I want to make sure that when I'm creating a report, that you can run it. So, and I've noticed when I'm working with delegate agency staff that you go to the reports tab and you don't see everything that I do, and in some cases, there are reasons for that. For example, not everybody has human resources access. So most people, in fact, can't see those folders. But when you go into reports and then look at all folders, there's a bunch of stuff that you should be seeing. And I'm not sure that's true in all cases. So, but we'll need to verify that they're functioning in two ways. First of all, that it gives you the information that you need, but secondly, that the security stuff is working, and so you're running an enrollment report. You're seeing your own, but not your neighbors. So we'll have to test that out in the live environment. This should, over the next few months, you should start to see more useful reports. Again, I don't know about the health information, and that, although it's on the agenda, we have other things first, because we made a decision earlier in the year that even though we're going to try to make it work in the system, we're not running PIR information out of CARES for this August. Although we hope to next August, but obviously, when you're submitting a year-long cumulative report, the report has to be working from the beginning of the year. If you roll it out in the middle, then you're gonna see that you're missing information. So we hope that will be ready this summer, but we're gonna use it until the 26th submission. Yeah. You would, yes. But if we already have information, asking you to go in and backdate it when there's current information that we're lacking and we need, it's just not the priority. You know what I'm saying, right? I need December and January information more than I do stuff from July. Because in many cases, we've already reported something. Like, the problem with backdating information is that at the DFSS level, we have reports that we make to our funders every month. So we've given information to CPS, we've given information to the feds. So to go back and put in your September attendance right now, for a center-based program, that's not very useful. But if you're at home visiting, we do allow all the visits in there. That's going to require a different kind of report, as discussed earlier, because I need to. The upside of that module is that when you put someone in a home visiting program funding enrollments, it creates all of the visits for you automatically, and you just need to fill them out. That's the positive side. The negative side, though, is if I just naively go in and run a report and how many do we have? it's always, the answer is always going to be it's like 48 because it created them all. What I want to know is how many of them are completed. That's a different question, and I don't have that right now. But when we get that figured out, that's the report will go out. Yeah. Yes, it's not on the attendance page. Every class is connected in CSD Cares to something that's called a schedule. And so if you go into the schedule, there's a thing called a schedule exception. And so what you do is you create a new one and say, on this date, we're closed. Yes. A caveat on that is that this works much better if you do it beforehand. Whereas if you go in and say, we were closed yesterday, then it's easier to stop the system from creating an attendance record than it is to delete one that's there. Because Salesforce does not like to delete anything. So the other thing is if you are backdating it because of that difficulty, it works better if you do each day rather than put in a date range. So I'm looking at a case right now and I have a solution, but it's like they put in an exception for December 24th through January 1st. And it did close the 24th, but it hasn't closed the other days, or it hadn't when I looked at it yesterday. So it looks like the solution is to do one day at a time, which is more, obviously it's more work. So it's better to do it ahead of time and then it will just not create attendance records in the first place. Thanks.
All right, I do believe I am at my time. I'm gonna do just one quick check. But yeah, thank you. Anything else? Any questions? Sort of. All right, well, thanks, everybody, and look forward to seeing you next month. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. We should have been recording you. All right, are there any outline questions, anything that we started, didn't finish? Any questions that you have before you get out of here? I have one last one that I'm going to ask you, but want to make sure that we've covered any that you have. No one? How many of you are offering your staff an employee benefit of retirement? Raise your hands. How many of you have more than 5 staff employed by your agency and you're not offering a retirement benefit? It's good that no hands are up because you're acting against the state law if you're not. Did you know that there's a state law called Illinois Secure Choice Act that says that if you have more than 5 staff members employed in your agency, you're required to offer them retirement benefit. To make that work for you, there is Illinois Secure Choice, where you can apply as an employer and they can apply as an employee. So it's not like it's not an option, but there is a possibility, and we'll be sending out that information again in CSD update. I just want to make sure that people, you never know when people are going to realize and go have an aha moment that there's an act that got passed and that they can receive money back because there is a law that says we can fine you if you're not. You know, and I always think when there's a budget deficit, you know, what's the easiest way is find all the acts and say who didn't do it, charge them, get the money. Just saying. So if you have more than 5 employees, you are required in the state of Illinois to offer that benefit, but your employees themselves can go to Illinois Secure Choice and put their information in. They can do it for themselves individually and then deposit into their own account, but you as an employer can open up an account and then include your names of your employers and deposit into that account as well. Sometimes it's a much more efficient and financial way to do it, because sometimes if you're out on the open market trying to find these plans, they can be expensive. So it's just another offer for everyone. So we'll put that in CSD update. So no hands went up, so I think everybody is secure and not have to worry about any one coming to the door and saying, oh, by the way, you're acting outside of one of the acts that passed in 2018. It is free. It is a free option. Yeah, it is free. Thank you. Any questions? Yes. On their own, they can just go in and open up an account for themselves. They can say no. They can say no. As an individual, you can say no, you don't want to do it. You as an employer don't have that same option though. Yes. It's in there. Absolutely. Okay. So just go on the website, Illinois Secure Choice. Look it up. Illinois Secure Choice. Look it up, share, and just give people options. Okay. Any other questions about anything before we close out? We will be asking CPS to come back and talk more about the kindergarten enrollment. As I said earlier, in March, we will have someone here from CPS to talk about pre-IPT and the requirement to do online data entry around the information that you're going to be gathering. Any other questions? Anything for the good of the order from anyone? Anything that we didn't cover that you need? I know that one thing. Don't have an answer. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Sheree isn't here this morning. I know. How dare we do a meeting without her, right? But she wasn't able to be here this morning at this meeting for a couple of other reasons, but yes. So, she misses you as much as you miss her. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon and the rest of your day.